Hey guys, Wayback Rewind here. In 2013, Apple introduced the iPhone 5S. Many people were disappointed with its 4-inch screen and 8-megapixel camera, same as the previous generation. But this camera was actually better than any camera I owned at the time, and I even used it to record my nephew's wedding. I'm going to show you all about this coming up next, here on Wayback Rewind.
Oh, Brother Thomas, did you walk away from Jesus, wondering if it was all a dream?
Even in 2013, people were complaining when the iPhone 5S came out. The 5S is exactly the same size as the 5, exactly 1.5 inch bigger screen than the original iPhone at 4 inches compared to 3.5. By 2013, people had gotten used to much larger screens. This is my Samsung Note 3. This is my actual Samsung Note 3 that I've had since 2013. It still works, kind of. It can no longer make phone calls, but it can still do some things. But the important reason why I brought this out is because by 2013, the cameras had gotten pretty good, actually. This has an 8-megapixel camera, the same as the previous generation, but the aperture is 20% larger, and the pixel size is about 12% larger, along with a much faster 64-bit processor. This camera significantly outperformed the previous generation. The Samsung camera was even better. This has a 12-megapixel camera. It could actually record in 4K. One of the first phones to actually be able to record in 4K. Unfortunately, it could only do it for 5 minutes at a time. And the reason why I brought these two out, because even though I'm primarily talking about the iPhone here, these two cameras were so good, they were better than any camera that I owned at the time. These two cameras are what I used to film my nephew's wedding. And he asked me to do it. I said I would do it as long as I didn't charge him and as long as he was okay with whatever I came up with. And so you get what you get. And I said, I don't even have a really nice camera. And so I used these two cameras. I put this one on a tripod in the back of the church. And this one I carried on a selfie stick. And that was what I used. And the iPhone back then, and even now, had one nice feature, that it did not have any limit to how long it could record. You could put this thing on a tripod, set it up to go, even in 1080, and it would run for an hour, however long you needed it to go. Modern cameras seem to have built-in limitations, either for thermal reasons or file size reasons or whatever reasons, but the iPhone seems to be able to work around that. I set this up in the back of the church and let it go, and when I was done, I had a perfect high-resolution video from the back of the church. This one I carried with me. I used it to record from the front of the church and walk around, and this one actually had a very nice picture. So the whole point of this video is that by 2013, these phones had cameras better than any camera that most people would own. Now, that's not to say that cameras didn't exist then as now in much higher price ranges with much higher quality, but the pocket cameras that people carried from the beginning of cameras up to 2013, those cameras just didn't really exist much anymore. The number of people that use this packaging this way, this is actually illegal. Using these padded envelopes in this manner is not exactly legal. The first iPhone released after Steve Jobs, the first one to move the headphone jack to the bottom, to use the lightning connector, went to the aluminum back as an homage to the original iPhone, the two-tone back. The 5 was a top-to-bottom redesign of the 4. The first one to be larger than the original iPhone. Here we have a 5 compared to the original iPhone. It's about a ½ inch bigger, not dramatically bigger. You can see it's a little bit bigger than the 4, a little bit bigger than the 3, one extra row. Still has the button on the top. Oops. Why they put a resealable package on here, I have no idea. Who's gonna put their case back in that package ever again? The 5S, now in a case. Now I did use my Kodak Z990 to walk around and take snapshots with, because it's 12 megapixel image with the flash, could make good still pictures. The LED flash is not as bright as the built-in flash on the Z990, so I did use the Z990. So these 3 cameras, and ironically my Betacam, were the cameras that I used to film a wedding. That begs the question, like, what happened to cameras? Even by iPhone 5S, the cameras were so good that you literally didn't need a standalone camera unless you just happened to need a zoom lens or a really bright flash or some other special effect. Even for a wedding, a cell phone was good enough for most everything.
I feel like I need 3 arms suddenly.